My name is Madison. I'm 31 years old and work as a nurse. The way I met my husband, Nicholas, who is 2 years older than me, is like something out of a drama. Nurse meets impatient patient. We got to know each other after I messed up his IV, embarrassing to have met as a nurse. I wish I could forget it, but hey, we're married now. Life is unpredictable. I work at a general hospital which includes night shifts. When I come home after a night shift, my husband is on his way to work. We might not always cross paths, but for the most part we were doing well as a couple. One day we both had the day off and planned to go out. That's when my younger sister Abigail showed up unannounced. When we told her we were about to go out, she excitedly said, "Really? I was thinking you're going shopping too. Let's go to the store." And just like that, she decided where we were going. My husband chuckled and said, "Well, it's fine. We hadn't decided where to go anyway, but we rarely get to go out together. She's your only sister, and she misses you. It's cute, isn't it?" At that, my sister started playfully hitting my husband on the arm, saying, "Oh my God, you're calling me cute? That's so sweet." My sister has always been like this, good at buttering people up, good at getting pampered. Even my parents were the same. Everybody always spoils her. Growing up, I was always told to be the mature older sister, compared and even made to hold back sometimes. Honestly, she's not my favorite person. I thought getting married and moving out meant finally getting some distance, but no, she has a knack for showing up and making me sigh. Our outing ended up being all about where she wanted to go. She kept asking us to buy this and that. I said no, but my husband ended up paying for it all anyway. Apparently, being an only child, he's a soft spot for the concept of a little sister. "You're so kind. I'm so happy you're my brother-in-law," she said, wrapping her arm around my husband. My husband didn't even try to shake her off. They walked together like a couple, and I followed behind them. It's the only way to describe how miserable I feel. After that, my sister started visiting more frequently. Having just graduated from college and failing to find a job, she's supposedly a homemaker, but it seems she doesn't actually do any housework, so she's just unemployed and hanging around the house. She's not even working part-time, and our parents are okay with this. With time on her hands, she started spending more than half the week at our place. I'm not thrilled about it, but since my husband is happy to have her, I can't exactly turn her away. Once I told her it's inconvenient for her to come over so often, she broke down and said, "You're a terrible sister. Do you hate me?" Upon seeing this, my husband lashed out, "Hey, aren't you being too harsh on your sister? What a cold-hearted sibling you are." Our parents chimed in with the same old line, "You're the older sister. Take care of her." Despite her being so adorable, I'm labeled the cold sister. Not very nice at all. Always the same story. Our parents dote on my sister and treat me poorly. It was the same when I said I wanted to go to nursing school. "We don't have the money," they hesitated. When I said I would pay for it with money from my part-time job, guess what they said? "Use that money for your sister." That's what they told me. At that moment, I gave up expecting anything from my parents. I gave up on being loved by them. In the end, I went to nursing school without giving in, and they didn't help me at all, despite claiming to have no money. They paid my sister's college tuition. Apparently, they still give her an allowance every month. Then and now, for our parents, the only beloved daughter is my sister. I see the same trend in my husband. Everyone seems to think my sister is the virtuous one, and I'm the villain. It's an incredibly sad reality. To add insult to injury, my husband's attitude towards me starts to change. He's become somewhat colder. "You can't even handle basic chores and you call yourself a housewife? You're completely useless." You know your current lifestyle is all thanks to me, right? Show some gratitude. You've got plenty of clothes to waste money on when you earn so little. If only you were more beautiful. What bad luck I have being stuck with a charmless wife like you. The verbal abuse just kept getting worse, and his spending grew increasingly reckless. When confronted, he'd lash out. And then I saw my sister smirking as she watched this fight. That's when I realized my husband and my sister were having an affair. I hadn't seen it happen, but I could feel it in the air. Call it a woman's intuition, if you will. My sister being overly touchy and needy with my husband, and him responding with a sloppy grin. Initially, I cried almost every night, but slowly my sadness turned to rage. Wondering what to do about this. An incident occurred one day. My sister was rushed to the hospital where I work. Seeing her on a stretcher, I was shocked, even more when I heard her husband was with her. Wait, husband? Why did my sister get married? Was I the only one not in the know? No way, that can't be. While I was still confused, a man stepped out of the ambulance. Yes, it was my husband. Not hers. Definitely mine. Abigail, hang in there, I'm with you, he shouted, unaware of my presence. I quietly approached him from behind and whispered into his ear, "What are you up to?" "What do you mean, my wife is collapsing?" he exclaimed. "Wait, wife?" Infuriated, he turned around and was visibly shocked when he recognized me. "My wife is collapsing. Wait, what? What do you mean? Why are you here? I work here, remember?" "Name of your wife's workplace?" I asked. "So, while I'm working, you and Abigail were together again?" "That's none of your business." "How is it none of my business what involves my sister and my husband? Explain yourself." If he admits to cheating, fine. I can divorce him without any lingering feelings. Even if he apologizes, I have no intention of forgiving him. With that in mind, I awaited his reply. "Shut up!" my husband suddenly snapped. His face turned bright red, his mouth twisted in anger. What an ugly sight he made. "Shut up! You're telling me to shut up? Damn right! Shut up! You have no say in this!" What a transformation. He had become distant since his involvement with Abigail, but he had never yelled at me like this. "What's with the attitude? It's weird for a husband and sister to spend so much time alone. Are you feeling guilty or something? Explain." "Shut up, shut up, shut up! Your job is to work and make money. Don't you dare challenge your husband with that." He pushed me hard. I stumbled and fell on my butt, wincing in pain. I watched him walk away at a loss for words, blinded by rage. I hardly remembered what happened afterwards. I simply focused on my nursing job. It turns out my sister had fainted at my house due to anemia. Should I be relieved it wasn't a life-threatening illness? As I left the hospital room, I saw my parents there with my husband. Their faces were pale with concern for their beloved Abigail. "Madison, is Abigail okay? Would they be this worried if I were the one hospitalized?" "No, probably not." I pushed the thought aside and assured them it wasn't serious and she could be discharged soon. Then I looked at my husband. "So, are you going to explain? Are you seeing Abigail alone often?" He looked uncomfortable at my question. "Yeah, so what? I'm not asking if it's wrong. I'm asking if you're having an affair with my sister." My parents looked shocked. My husband's eyes widened, then narrowed. "So, you noticed. I thought you were too dense to realize. What a brazen admission. Yes, I'm involved with Abigail, but so what? I'm just showing her some affection. You can't even make decent money or keep the house in order. Who are you to complain?" "How dare you say that? It's the truth. You've lost your appeal, so don't act high and mighty. The one having an affair shouldn't be acting high and mighty." "What did you just say? We were both losing our tempers. As I stood my ground, he grabbed my collar. I braced myself to be hit, but then someone grabbed his arm. "Calm down, both of you," said the doctor who had examined my sister. Although he looked close to 40 years old and seemed calm, he gripped my husband's arm with strong force. Contrary to his expression, my husband tried to shake free, but the doctor's grip didn't let go. "You're in a hospital. Please keep it down and no violence." The doctor's tone was gentle but firm. It seemed to have an impact, and my husband reluctantly let go of my hand. At the same time, the doctor also released his grip on my husband. By the way, the doctor stepped between my husband and me, blocking my view. I could only see the doctor's back. I wonder what face he's making while looking at my husband. "The patient is pregnant," the doctor said. "What?" Confused, my husband listened as the doctor repeated himself. "She's pregnant, early stages. She probably wasn't even aware. Make sure she's paying attention to her diet. She'll be needing more iron during pregnancy." My sister is pregnant. The room went silent, grasping the weight of this revelation. What followed was chaotic. My sister, now discharged, was pampered like a princess back at her parents' home. Being the first grandchild, our parents were ecstatic beyond words. As for my husband, he showed no remorse. Not only did he not apologize, he even said it was my fault he had an affair, without any lingering attachments. We divorced swiftly. Of course, I claimed alimony. Greedy woman, he grumbled to the very end, but ultimately signed the papers. Was being with my sister that important to him? The years spent with him felt empty, to say the least. That's a sad part of the story. I'll probably be embarrassed about it forever, but it's not over. Why should everything end here? I can't forgive them. My sister, my husband, and my parents. I've already submitted the divorce papers. After confirming the alimony transfer, I headed straight to my family home. My sister, my parents, and even my ex-husband were all there. I originally purchased that apartment when I was single, so inevitably my ex-husband left. When I entered my parents' house, my ex-husband, parents, and sister were all there. I confirmed the alimony payment and submitted the divorce papers. Oh, really? My ex-husband was as indifferent as ever. We've submitted our marriage registration too. I'm Abigail's husband now, so stop bothering us. You said anything about bothering? How can he act so high and mighty after having an affair? Even more, why is he so full of himself? I don't have any ounce of love left for him. His delusional comments are making me sick. I pulled out a letter-sized envelope. My face. So, shall we begin? What's that? I have to say I'm impressed. I spoke up, cutting off my husband's puzzled question. I eagerly pulled out a thick stack of papers from the envelope. There were also small bundles of paper. I placed them on the table and tapped them with my finger. Never thought you'd be raising someone else's child. You're practically a saint, aren't you? What? My husband furrowed his eyebrows, clueless about what I was getting at. I sensed my sister catching her breath. Ignoring them, I spread the papers out. What's this? It's the result from a private investigator, I answered while they were still asking. No time to waste. A private investigator? Why would you— Hold on, don't rush me. These papers have all kinds of information about Abigail. About Abigail? My husband looked at my sister's face. It seemed to have turned slightly pale. What exactly are you— It might not matter to Mom and Dad. The child is Abigail's, after all. Huh? This right here is about the man Abigail is dating, I said, showing them a photograph. It featured my sister arm in arm with a man. It wasn't my ex-husband. What? My bewildered ex-husband and parents. My sister lost for words. Ah, in the moment of revenge. So surprise. The child in my sister's belly is this man's. I grinned and declared loudly. What's going on, Abigail? What is this about? I pressed on against the stunned trio. The truth is, Abigail has been dating this man. The child is unmistakably his. Weren't you two using contraception? Well, yes, but contraception isn't absolute true. Nothing is absolute, but the timing doesn't add up based on what I've heard. That's not absolute either, but the timeline for her relationship with this man aligns perfectly with her pregnancy. So chances are, when I saw proof of my husband and sister's affair, I stumbled upon an unexpected revelation. Stop! Misleading stuff up. I don't know this man. That's right, Madison. You can't ruin a relationship with lies. Oh, really? So is this picture photoshopped? I spread out a couple of pictures on the table, one showing my sister checking into a hotel with a man, and another showing them leaving. Then I spread out a slew of lovey-dovey pictures that obviously couldn't have been edited. Wow, look at you two all cozy. What are you doing? Clean this up. Throw them away. Don't worry, I have digital copies. I can make as many as I want. Are you kidding me? My sister is panicking. This is getting fun. I should mention that this relationship between my sister and this man dates back a few years, since Abigail was in college. Wait, that long ago? Abigail, you said you didn't have a boyfriend. I don't, I swear. Well, can't really call him a boyfriend, can we? Because he's a married man. He's what? My ex-husband's voice cracked. What? There to be surprised about? You were married too. Seems like my sister has a thing for married men. Abigail, you were serious about him, weren't you? You wanted to have his child, didn't you? That's you wanted a child because he wasn't going to leave his wife, am I right? My sister was silenced by my questions. I looked at my ex-husband and pointed sharply at him. So you're just a convenient option. What? My ex-husband's eyes widened. Pretty impressive considering you'd marry and raise a child that isn't yours. Well, it's not the child's fault, so you better take good care of them. Wait, if that's true? If what's true? Let's start over. I was caught off guard by a sudden statement. What's he talking about? Start over? Yes, if Abigail's child isn't mine, then I'll break up with her. Why should I raise someone else's child? So why? Why would you want to start over with me? You still love me, right? I can put up with your quirks if you continue to provide for me as you have. Bang! I couldn't take it anymore and slammed the table. Photos and documents flew everywhere. I glared at my ex-husband. You've got to be kidding me. You think I'm so stupid that I'd get back with the man who cheated on me with my sister? Love you? I think of you as less than trash. Even if you'd offered me $1 billion, I'd say no. You, really? A sleazy man who cheats on his wife's sister, and a sleazy woman who would let him raise another man's child? You two are a match made in heaven. Just stay out of my life. That goes for you too, Mom and Dad. I'll find happiness without any of you. I left my family home after dropping these words. Wait up. My ex-husband desperately tried to catch up to me. He reached out his hand to me, but it was intercepted by someone else. Who the heck are you? My name is David. I won't allow anyone to harm Madison. It was the doctor who had treated my sister before David. He had saved me that day from my ex-husband's blow. We became close while I consulted him about various issues. David, who also experienced divorce due to his wife's infidelity, confessed his feelings for me. I was shocked. I asked him to wait until the divorce was finalized. He respected my wish. He had been waiting outside today, concerned about the meeting. I'll call the police if you try anything, and if you cross the line, I'll see you right away. But Madison, please wait. I was wrong, so wrong. I grinned at my weeping ex-husband. Thanks to you and my sister, I met him. Thank you. I'm going to be happy with him. My ex-husband slumped as he watched me hug David. After that, we DNA tested my sister's child after its birth. As suspected, the child was not my ex-husband's. My sister and ex-husband ended up divorcing. My sister had to pay damages for her affair once her lover's wife found out. She's now reluctantly working night shifts. As for my parents, they dote on their grandchild, believing blood is thicker than water. It seems their love has shifted from my sister to her child, and my sister doesn't like it. I'm being neglected, my sister complained, but I don't care. Her child is likely to follow in her footsteps. I wonder what my aging parents will do then. Not my problem. Word got around at my ex-husband's workplace about his affairs and quick divorce, so now he's ostracized. He got uncomfortable and quit his job. Then he hopped from job to job, his mental state deteriorating, and eventually became unemployed. Nobody knows what he's up to now. A mutual friend told me this, but honestly, I couldn't care less. He brought this upon himself. Oh yeah, right. As for me, my relationship with David is going well. We are cautious about moving forward because we both have been cheated on, but his sincerity has eased my worries. I'm pretty sure the day I become Mrs. Johnson isn't far off.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick? Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. All right, everyone's presentations are done. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me. There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, "I'm very sorry." Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, "Get his boss here immediately." It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. "What is that idiot doing?" "All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next." Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. "If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you." I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. "Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize." Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. "What kind of training are you giving your subordinates?" Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed, I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? "I'm very sorry." Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, "I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong." "Mike, what have you done?" Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you've failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.